Joe Musgrove, fractured big toe. What does it mean for the Padres, who are loaded for bear this season, and what is his return timeline? This is Dr. David Chow, Sports Injury Central, SICScore.com, in consultation with our panel of baseball doctors. Here's the early assessment on Joe Musgrove. No real details yet. Apparently an unfortunate weight room injury accident with his big toe, left big toe. Here's the early bad and good news. Bad news is fracture is a broken toe. Bad news is likely to miss the start of the season. Good news, if there is any, depending on details, hopefully not too much more. Hopefully not expecting a long-term injury depending on where the fracture is. And at least it's on his left foot. Given that he's a right-handed pitcher, the power leg and push-off is on the right side. Your big toe biomechanically is responsible for over 50% of the push-off off the mound. Easier that it's his landing foot where forces can be distributed. In any case, will affect his mechanics, and his return will need to be careful to not throw off other areas and have compensation injuries. Here's some timeline thoughts. If this is the typical drop to weight on your big toe injury, there is some concern for, is there a nail bed injury? Is it an open injury that needs to be cleaned and make sure there is no fracture? That's the first step. It likely is a comminuted injury in terms of pieces based on the proposed mechanism. Hopefully it's distal or at the IP, interphalangeal joint, not more proximal near the bunion joint or metatarsal phalangeal joint, MTP joint, more responsible for running and jumping and landing. In any case, the hope is no surgery in a matter of time. Best case scenario, if it's a small crack and he could get going again in 2 or 3 weeks with a plate issue, etc. However, he still needs ramp up time to get into throwing shape. So that still does not have him ready for the start of the season. Worst case, if it's significantly comminuted or infection risk, it could be a return timeline as late as somewhere around Tatis's return, April 20th. The hope is somewhere in between 4 to 6 weeks before he can start ramping up, maybe a month to ramp up. So it will cost the Padres the start of the season, but should not derail any World Series hope, especially with all their returning players and new signees, etc. So a mixed bag of bad and good news for the San Diego Padres. However, this early season training camp news is better than last year. Remember last year, Tatis reported with a broken scaphoid bone, a wrist fracture that basically cost him the majority of the season and then the suspension. This timeline for Joe Musgrove will be much shorter, although this is still something significant to watch. It will cost him the start of the season. The hope is that he can maybe beat Tatis back to play, but that's about the timeline for return with limited details at this point in time. This is Dr. David Chow at Sports Injury Central. Thanks for watching.